Hey everybody, today I'm going to be making a really easy version of tamales, and it's the season of the year for making Christmas tamales, and this version is easy because there are a few ingredients in the filling. Usually the filling can be complicated with dried red chilies that you clean and make into a paste and all that, and it's kind of time consuming. I'm going to cut the time. It's going to be very easy and basic. I'm going to use some diced green chili and some black olives, and also to make it a vegan version, I'm going to use the Miyoko's mozzarella, and it's not soy. It's plant-based. It does not have palm oil. It's soy-free, non-GMO, organic. I've tried this just as a regular cheese to put on pizza to have that mozzarella flavor, and it really does have a good, surprisingly good mozzarella flavor. The only thing about it that might be off-putting is the texture is more kind of like a Play-Doh texture almost. But anyway, you will not tell the difference in a tamale, that is for sure, especially with all the ingredients that go into it. And so that's the filling part. For the dough, what you wrap the filling within the dough. You use a corn flour. This is a masa harina, and this is what you would typically use to make corn tortillas. And for today, we're going to add it with some shortening, some baking powder, some broth, some extra chilies for flavor. And once we have the dough, as you can see, we have corn husks. These I'm going to have to soften. These are too hard right now. I'm going to soften them in some hot water. And then once the dough is ready, we'll get it all assembled. And then we steam it in a pot of water on a rack for over an hour and a half. So it's a very long process, part of the process of how long it takes is the cooking time. So anyway, before we get started, of course, you have to have tequila. Well, you don't have to have tequila while you're making tamales, but I have to have tequila when I'm making tamales. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Cheers. Okay, so in the mixing bowl, as you can see, I have a bunch of flour. I have 6 cups of flour. I have about 1.5 cups of shortening. And I'm going to be adding just under a tablespoon of baking powder, maybe about 3/4 of a tablespoon of baking powder. And then I like to add other things to season it because the masa doesn't have too much flavor unless you add flavor to it. Like I said, if I was doing a red chili paste, I would add red chili paste to this. I'm going to add some cumin, just some dashes. That's not too, I'm going to have to measure too much. And some garlic powder, just to add a little bit of something. Going to add some black pepper. And this is totally not necessary, but you do have to add some salt. And I'm using a vegetarian broth. It's like a no beef broth, so I'm going to use that. And so that will have some salt. Normally, if I was using plain water, I'd put probably a tablespoon of salt, but maybe I'll put like half of that to flavor that. And before I start mixing it, I'm going to go ahead and this is 3 cups of the vegetarian broth. It's a kind of a beef flavor. Okay. So now that that's in, I'm going to put it on the mixing stand, and you're going to put the dough hook in, and we're going to mix it just till it's combined, and you're going to check, oh wait, sorry, got to put in some chili, too. Don't want to miss that out. Put some extra chili. If it needs to have more liquid, you can always add some more as it's being mixed up. All right, let's get to the mixer. See, it's not that hard. But people go ahead and buy masa, but look, it takes just minutes. The problem is when you're doing a whole day of these, you have to make about 8 batches of this. If you notice the masa is too dry, then we're going to add some more. I have this, all of the chili juice from the cans, and some extra chili in there. I'll start with that, and then if it needs some more, I'll add some water. And you want to scrape the sides. Looks like it needs some more water. I'm going to put about more of the chilies and about a cup more water. All right, it's time to assemble. We have the masa dough ready to go. You saw me mix it up, but I wanted to show you the consistency. It's to kind of like a spreadable, almost like a whipped frosting type consistency. Definitely spreadable. I cut up the Miyoko's cheese. I actually bought 2 of the blocks of Miyoko's cheese because I wanted to make 2 dozen tamales. And I soaked the corn husks in the sink. The one thing you want to make sure, you just want to go through and clean your corn husks. Make sure because sometimes there's actually bugs in here. And these dried corn husks, they get stuck in there because they've been nibbling on corn apparently. So I always wash these, keep them in the sink and get hot water on them. And so now is the fun part. The fun part is the actual assembling. So what you want to do, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to go about it. People have different, I guess, kind of tricks they do to spread the masa, but they'll pat it, or some people have a special spreader. I just use a big spoon and I like a good hunk of masa on there. I'm not too skimpy with the masa. And then you'll spread it. I open up my palm like this and I spread, as you can see, the consistency of the masa. It's almost like a cream cheese type consistency. And I'm going to add a little bit of the green chilies first, just so we have green chilies throughout. And I'll put one of the strips of the Miyoko cheese on here. I'll put green chili on top so it's surrounded. So when it's heated up in the steamer, it should get all nice and melty like it would with cheese. And I always like to put olive right in the middle. If you're lucky, I'll put 2, if you're one of the lucky people. So you fold it over, flip it up, and I usually try to tap the top a little bit. And this is basically what it looks like. And that's your first one. So let me do another one, just so you get the hang of it. And sometimes, you know, with these husks, you may have to put multiples together because sometimes you'll get a bad batch and they will be kind of pieces that aren't that great. So put the cheese. Oh, a little bit more chili. You could do tamales savory style. You can do them like these. You can do them sweet. I've done all kinds, chocolate versions, but people will do different kinds during the year. Traditionally, people will do some that have raisins and pineapple. I know that they sell some masa that has just strawberries in it. The problem is that the masa that, like I mentioned, the masa you buy in the store, any of those flavored masas have lard. And I actually don't think lard makes the best masa. And I've had people tell me that they prefer the shortening. Of course, shortening is not healthy either. I mean, that's why we only do this like once a year. I never buy Crisco or like shortening at all the rest of the year. It's just at Christmas time. And it's just for tamales or like a few of the, you know, Christmas cookies and things like that. So, okay, I'm making 3 to give you an idea. So there you go. So I'm going to keep making these, and then I have a pot back here, a large stock pot, and we're going to fill it with, it's filled with water and has a rack in it, and the water is going to be boiled so that we can steam these, like I mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these up. All right, don't these look fantastic? I know I have probably over 2 dozen. There's probably close to 30 in here, and which is pretty good because I've probably worked on the whole thing, including making the masa and all that, for probably a couple hours. So that's not bad. And as you've seen, I have a large stock pot. I have some racks in here, and they are lifted with some aluminum foil because I want to put 2 inches of water in here to steam the tamales. And when I steam the tamales, I stack them up upright. And you'll see me load this up. But the main thing that you have to be careful, because the first thing you do is you boil them. Once it's all loaded, you boil the water, and then you put it on low, and then you steam it for, like I said, over an hour and a half, sometimes close to 2 hours. You just want to make sure that the dough is not soft and mushy. It has to have kind of like a tight consistency. But the main thing as far as steaming is you do not want to run out of water. Sometimes people will even put coins. Maybe they'll put a quarter at the bottom of their pot in case if it starts rattling, they know that they're low on water. Because what will happen is it will start smoking, and then you'll have a smoked smelling, like tasting tamale, and it is just awful. So the main thing is with steaming the tamale is stack them up tight and upright. And another thing that I do is what I learned from my in-laws. Some people put a lid on a tamale, but I use a damp tea towel. And the damp tea towel allows for a little bit of the steam to escape, but still you don't want to run out of water. So that's why I use a large stock pot. I put a couple inches of water, solid amount of water, and I kind of lift it up with the rack. So go ahead and start stacking. When I usually start stacking, you see how they have little like tails? I put them together so they don't kind of flop around. And you have to be careful when you're stacking. You just kind of go around the side, and I'll show how it looks in the end. You go around the side first, and you'll want to balance it out. Do a little bit, and then you'll start going across. It's not too difficult. None of this is difficult. It's just time consuming. But that's okay. I'm on my 3rd margarita now. It's been a great afternoon. As you can probably tell. I'm doing a drunk filming. But it goes great with the tamales. In the end, tequila does. And this amount of tamales will fit probably just right. I've used this stock pot, believe it or not. I bought this stock pot back when I first got married over 28 years ago at what they used to call a pick and save. Now they call it Big Lots. But I think I bought this big stock pot for about $20 then, which I thought was very expensive. And it didn't even have a rack in it. So all this time I've used cookie sheets, round cookie sheets, MacGyvered with some aluminum foil in order to make these tamales every year. All right, so I'm going to do an overshot just so you can see how this looks. So you can see they're all stacked up tight, but not too tight. I mean, there's a little bit of gap, and we'll steam. I'll put the stove on. We'll steam them for probably close to 2 hours. Okay, we are done with the tamales, as you can see. Oh my gosh, it looks so fantastic. I'm going to take the rest of this husk off. Oh my gosh. So this is what it looks like just with the masa. I mean, you can serve it with other things, but I'm just going to go ahead and dig in. Wow. That Miyoko's cheese adds a lot of creaminess. You can definitely tell the mozzarella flavor, and it goes so perfectly with the green chili and really good. Last margarita for the night, and cheers. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and cheers to 2021. Hopefully it's going to be a great year.